From the words of the great Kanye West, this is what you all been waiting for, ain't it? Finally, folks, we're here to talk about the new Star Wars series, The Acolyte. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new series, Star Wars, The Acolyte, coming to Disney Plus June 4th, where there's going to be 8 episodes total in this series. Every episode is a little more than 30 minutes. I've seen anywhere from 31 minutes to about 45, but ultimately you're getting a lot of action within each episode. So I've had the honor and opportunity to check out the first 4 episodes, and that's what we're going to talk about today in a non-spoiler review. But nonetheless, listen, The Acolyte has definitely been one that everyone's been targeting. The trailer was phenomenal, and it definitely turned everybody's light bulbs on in terms of like, what is this? What can it be? What could it be? And with all the momentum that Star Wars has been just really building over their last few projects, I think this one being the most unique because it is very much new, and with so many new characters, and then there's lightsabers. So first of all, let's just stop right there. The fact that we're dealing with Jedi still, and there's so many lightsabers, and this really does attract a lot of the folks who's not really heavy into the lore. Who's not, playing the games, reading the novels, or care about anything outside of the Skywalker saga. This draws right towards them because yes, you have lightsabers. There's a bunch of them. You even have yellow ones for some folks, but nonetheless, I think it does very much brings the casuals back. For the hardcores, we've been here the entire time and they haven't missed in any of their recent projects. But this one definitely coming live action was definitely one that I know a lot of folks were very excited for because of the idea of we not knowing exactly what this is going to be. You know what I mean? We had our suspicions and certainly, folks trying to connect some dots and whatnot. But I think it was just because there was so much room to tell such a new and refreshing story that us as the fans, we just knew we were going to have a good time. And let's just call it what it is. Like, they have not missed, and Dave has just been at the top of his game. And how could this be anything but great? But I will say this too, for anybody who is a martial arts fan, who loves martial arts cinema, this is for you because there's so many deep Asian references and nods in terms of Asian cinemas. And with that being said, you're going to see some amazing choreography, really dope cinematography to really elevate the fight choreography. And then I will go as far as saying, like, listen, there's a lot of epic moments within all of Star Wars. A lot of it has to do with lightsabers. A lot of it has to do with weaponry. When it comes down to just the basics, the hand-to-hand combat, there's some very impressive moments within the first 4 episodes here with that. So, again, anybody who loves good old martial arts films, here you go. The Asian references are very much ingrained in so much of this thus far, and certainly when it comes down to the hand-to-hand combat, it's at the top of this game. But nonetheless, let's talk about what this is actually about, because it does take place approximately 100 years before the 9-film Skywalker saga. So this is dropping fans in the midst of a murder spree as Jedi begin turning up dead, and the mystery surrounding 2 sisters, Osha and May, who are both played by Amandla Stenberg, who pronouns is they, them, begins to unravel. So with that being said, I say for the first 2 episodes, you're certainly very much dropped into a murder mystery. And with that, we are introduced to what it seems to be just one person, as in May, who is on a revenge spree to kill 4 Jedi. And on the other end, we're introduced to Osha, who they're identical twins. So you're kind of like, wait, what? But ultimately, it doesn't take long before you discover that there's actually two people and not one. And again, Amandla is playing both of them. So like, for the first, like, I don't know, first part of the first episode, you're kind of like, wait, what is happening right now? And there's a little bit of gaslighting, but also you think there may be some measure of amnesia because you're like, I definitely saw what you just did, only to discover that there's two different folks. So Osha and May. And with that being said, Osha was once, she once was a part of the Jedi Order. She's studying under Master Soul. Master Soul is a Jedi that, without a doubt, you instantly are you're gonna love. I think because, but beyond just being a Jedi, you can just tell that this is a good person, and your suspicions come to light very early, especially in episode 3. You're really going to understand just the kind heart behind this Jedi Master. But nonetheless, Osha decides to leave the Jedi Order because of some inner turmoil, because this is the conflict here. This is the good versus evil. This is the Jedi versus Sith. This is the root of Star Wars here. Meanwhile, as I mentioned, Osha's sister May is out for revenge. And I'll just say this, that episode 3, so the first 2 episodes is really focused on the murder mystery aspect and almost the thrill of the hunt. And also because, well, May has a master, and so this is almost like a trial or test of some sorts that she's out here looking to complete, and obviously to report back. So we see that aspect in the first 2 episodes. But then episode 3 is where we go to the backstory of our main characters. And then that, it really does bring the first 2 episodes, the conflict, it brings it full circle. But also it does give you so much more details about the Jedi, their stance, the 2 sisters and where they come from. And so I say that covenant that they were a part of, and this really understanding how we got to where we're at now in the present day. So like, they do a really good job in terms of like building this in a way that, again, if you're just a casual or like, you just want the sort of the story to be relayed to you very easily, I think the 3rd episode just really just makes it all understanding to anybody without having to connect the dots. And then the 4th episode, to be honest, is everything that you signed up for. Everything you saw in the trailer is not in, but is starting to build in episode 4. The cliffhanger on episode 4 is criminal. It's criminal because it's so good. And in fact, I now got to wait for episode 5 with everybody else, which is, a little bit of privilege talking here. But like the cliffhanger on episode 4 really is building for what should be the most insane episode of this series in episode 5, which then should focus on everything you saw in the trailer. Some of the things that people have been, stroking their chin about, like, I can't wait to see that. I think those things are going to arise come episode 5. But episode 4 really builds you up for those moments in episode 5. But with that being said, with this, and Star Wars always does such a fantastic job when it comes down to the costumes and the makeup designs. Always a treat. But in this one, obviously, you're going to get some new designs, some new locations and environments, especially with like in terms of like the newness. You're going to get new costumes, new hair designs and styles and paints, lightsaber designs, of course. And then also, I will say, like, you also see some people use the Force in a way you haven't really seen before. In terms of the cast, Jodie Turner-Smith, she kills it episode 3. That's all I'm going to say. I also will say, because I did mention in terms of the backstory of our main characters, we get actual twins, Lauren and Leia Brady, who plays the younger version of the two. They do a spectacular job, really, with building what we see as the adult versions of them. And understanding those emotions and tensions between two, because they're all twins. And that's what's interesting about this, is that, typically in Star Wars, it is this good versus evil, the balance and, the Sith versus the Jedi. But twin sisters, how does that fare? Because One may even say in reality that there's a force, a force that only twins understand amongst each other. And the fact that you put that then into the Star Wars universe, you're going to see that tested. And in fact, episode 3 is really going to iron that all out, because they are two sisters that love each other, but they're not always on the same page. That's probably the easiest way to put that on there. Jonas Sotomo, famously known as Chewbacca, returns as a Wookiee again, because only the best should play the best, so I'll say that there. And then I don't know. There's a lot of folks. Like there's really a lot of folks I could really spend a lot of time with the cast. But with that being said, all of the characters, all the new characters, you're instantly invested into, because they're such likable characters. But there's such a mystique around them that you want to know so much more. But without a doubt, it's not always a given a new character that you just take fond to. But the fact that all the characters you take a liking to is very interesting. But yeah, I think it just shows the beauty of the writing, directing, and then really putting this series together. This series is really, really spectacular for what I've seen so far. I have to talk about Amandla's performance now, because what's really interesting about her, about Amandla, who pronounces they, them, is Amandla never really gives you, in terms of May and in terms of Osha being the good one, May being the bad one. May doesn't have this dark, sinister voice, and Osha doesn't have this angelic presence. So for me, because typically Siths has a very Sithly like voice, and then Jedis typically have a very like I am a Jedi voice, the fact that that's not a thing, for me, it creates so much mystery around the two of them, because at this point now you kind of sense conflict within them, but ultimately you have no clue where the fate of these two characters may go. There's a lot of moments where you're just like in pro wrestling, you don't know if they're a good guy, bad guy, then the heel turn comes about or a face turn comes. You just have no clue what's happening. And Amandla, over the years, really has been growing up in front of our eyes on screen, has just been getting better and better and better. And she and they take this moment and truly knocks it out the park. What a phenomenal performance as the two leads here in May and Osha, and really having us divided as viewers in terms of like not really understanding what's going to happen, but ultimately completely invested into what's going to happen here. So there's a lot to really make with that, and I really can't wait for the rest. But with that being said, I mean, listen, the first 4 episodes, I think it's a must watch. The murder mystery aspect in the first 2 episodes, they build it up, but there's not really a lot there for somebody who loves true crime. So like they build it up, but you're not wearing no detective hat and trying to investigate anything. It pretty much resolves pretty quickly, especially when they let you know exactly who it is and the fact that there is twins. I think if they had to play out the fact that there was twins and we thought it was just one person and they were just bouncing between being the good guy and the bad guy, that would have been like way more intriguing. But nonetheless, episode 3 really brings everything full circle in terms of the backstory. So you really do understand, at least I guess you assume you understand the paths that these two are on until they get adults, and what happens where their paths are now questioned, because the two of them who I should mention this too, because it is sort of in the synopsis that like they had assumed that May was dead because of a tragedy in their childhood. So you had one going out this thinking like, my sister's dead, and then the other one's like, everyone thinks I'm dead, So understanding that now that the two that they have discovered that once presumed dead 16 years ago now is alive, what does that mean about everything that they thought? All that comes into play with this. So, up and down the board, it's really good storytelling. It's super enjoyable. Again, very heavily influenced by the Asian culture. Hand-to-hand combat is great. There's lightsabers, folks, in all different colors. There's so many likable characters. There's such unique set pieces and locations and costumes and makeup. And I'm only halfway through this. I can't wait to see what's going to be next. So I'm really, really excited for this. But folks, you get an opportunity to start to check out this series because on June 4th on Disney Plus, Star Wars The Acolytes will premiere. It is a total of 8 episodes, 30 minutes each, and more. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, your excitement, your predictions for this series. And as always, stick around for more reviews here at Big Old Belt Media very soon.